All right. Welcome back to Geek Corner, brought to you by the Coach Steve Show. Logan is back. The man.
Let's go.
The show is nothing without Logan. I try by myself. It's
I
not.
know you've tried, and I've listened in on some of your other shows, and you're always calling me out about how I'm too busy and how our schedules don't match up, and yada yada yada.
Mm.
It's funny. It's crazy how podcasts work. Is like I'll turn you on in the car when I'm driving to somewhere, and I'll be listening to your show, and like I want to just like call in and talk to you. But I know you've obviously pre-recorded this, so it's not like, and you're at work and I'm driving for work, and but I just want to like call in and like have a conversation with you while you're doing your show. But I mean, that's obviously not how podcasts work. So maybe one day we'll have a live call-in show where we can do that. That'd be fun, right?
I'm waiting for you and Craig to do that because then I'll be calling all the time. Like, hold on.
We've talked about that. We started. We did a couple live Illini shows, which I don't think worked very well just because of the delay when you're doing this, and we're both streaming the game, and when you're. But I think we might potentially in the winter shift to doing live post game shows.
Yeah.
But just a little. For anybody that's interested, we've talked about it. I don't know that it'll be an every game type of thing, but doing it live so that we can get people's reactions and, they can message in and things like that. So I don't know. One day, maybe there'll be a call-in option too.
That'd be awesome. Now, Logan, you said you didn't listen to my spoiler-free one.
I did not.
In that one, I did mention you, but I took the blame. I said, Logan's not here because of our schedules, aka my schedule, because I decided to coach the youth and I have a game every day because baseball gets canceled every day with the weather. So
okay.
I took the blame. You didn't hear
it. All right.
Okay.
It's all right. You're going to take a lot of blame for what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to be honest with you.
I am prepared for this. People I work with saw one put me in a group text saying it was like a 6 out of 10 for them or a 7 out of 10. And
we'll get to that. But let's just start by saying at some point during this conversation, you and I might actually have to have an intervention.
We might.
I've kind of hinted at it for a while that I might have to have an intervention with you. And I feel like this movie was the final straw. Like this movie is the reason why I need to have an intervention with you. So I think that's probably what this podcast is going to turn into at some point. So just giving you a little bit of a heads up.
This hopefully will be more entertaining than the Johnny Depp trial. That's what's about to happen.
No promises.
So
what are we doing? What are we talking about today, Steve?
Well, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, some movie that came out Thursday.
Yeah.
So before we jump into that, I want to say real quick, I thought it was awesome. I texted Logan at 5:45 my time, and I said, see you on the other side. And Logan sent me a text saying, I just tweeted that because I'm about to watch it myself. And I was like, this is perfect.
It was perfect timing. I was literally pressing send tweet as the text came across, as I'm sitting there in the theater, ready for the movie to start. And that was perfect. Because I didn't know you were seeing it as early. I thought you were going to be seeing it later in the day, but as you mentioned, your schedule got moved around, so you were able to see it about the exact same time that I was. So it was kind of funny that you sent me that text with the exact same "see you on the other side" as I was tweeting "see you on the other side." That's great.
Now your movie got done about 10 minutes or so before mine. So when you said, on my watch, it says I have thoughts. I was like, I'm not done yet. Hold on. It's not done yet. But this is now spoilers. This is full on spoilers. We are going to be all over the place. This is not going in order because a lot happened in the movie. A lot didn't happen in the movie. Logan's got an intervention with me.
We should say we've both given our spoiler-free thoughts.
Right.
They are available on our own platforms. Yours is available on your feed. Mine is available on the No One Asks Us pod. So if you're tuning into this and you don't want to hear spoilers yet, if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't listen to this. Go find one of our other shows on either of our feeds and watch/listen to those before you come to this. We're obviously going to talk about a lot of those same things, but we're going to talk about way more than what I talked about in the 13 minutes of just rambling on by myself, and likewise for you. So spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning. Now, real quick, I found this movie to be harder to do a spoiler-free one than Spider-Man No Way Home, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like, it was very difficult. I was like, because people I work with didn't see it Thursday night, and I walk in front, like, Steve, I can't look at you. Steve, we're not going to look at you. And they're like, but tell me something about it. I'm like, I can't.
Did you feel like, because I know you listened to mine, I didn't listen to yours, as I talked about. I kind of want to have an open mind when I hear your thoughts. But do you think that I gave anything away? Like, was my spoiler free? Was it all spoiler free? Do you think I was saying too much?
Yeah, because I what you said, I said similar things. Like, for a spoiler free version is people are going to be disappointed.
Right.
People are going to be just fine. People are going to love it. And you talk about the storyline is still good for people to be like, okay, I'm going into it knowing it's going to look different at times. And like I said, when I listened to you say that, when I went back and watched it Saturday, because you talked about they changed directors.
Right.
We still gotta remember, even like Thor Love and Thunder filmed during COVID. So a lot of these are going to affect these movies. So no, you did fine of like, go into it with an open. I wish I went into it with more of an open mind.
Right.
And we'll get into that, because the way I went into this movie was the same way I went into a certain show back in 2020, 2021 that we watched with all these theories. I had the same thing going on, but no, it was good. Yeah. And that way I went into it Saturday watching it the way you said it. And
so the reason I wanted to do that spoiler free review, and I kind of toyed with the idea of doing it, but I kind of rushed it together because I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. But I woke up Friday morning to 2 or 3 texts from different people who hadn't seen the movie yet, wanting to know my thoughts before they even saw the movie. And I don't usually know like how to respond to those, because some people read reviews before they see movies. Like, I have a friend who, like, he reads all sorts of reviews before he sees the movie. He sends me stuff. I'm like, I don't want to see it. Whatever the movie is, not just Marvel movies. Like, I want to go into a movie with as much of an open mind as possible. Like, I try to even avoid trailers for the most part. Like, I'm to the point where I go to so many movies that if I get there when the trailers are going, I'm not paying attention. Like, I'm looking at my phone. Like, yes, I certainly see trailers when they first come out, but as you get closer and closer to the movie, I want nothing to do with it. I want to go into a movie with as open of a mind as possible. So with this one, I had muted everything on Twitter. I didn't see anything. The only thing I saw, which I was I don't say I was pissed about, but I was pretty bothered by it. But again, it's not this guy's fault. But one of the guys that I do follow on YouTube posted his review, and I didn't watch the review, but I was just scrolling through YouTube, and his thumbnail just said, "Not great." That bothered me a little bit, because like, I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I was not seeking out anything. I had muted all these words on Twitter, and then I see that, and immediately my mind goes to, okay, all right, I have to, gauge that this. I mean, this is somebody that is usually super positive about all these things. So for that to be the 2 words he puts on his YouTube thumbnail to be not great. But what I was getting at is that everybody does it differently. I don't want to know anything. So when people are asking me, what are your thoughts before they even see the movie, I don't know how I'm supposed to respond.
Right.
But after I thought about it more that day, my response should have honestly been, if you're expecting this movie to be a game changer in the MCU, back your expectations down. Because if that's how you walk in the theater, like I did, like you probably did, like just about anybody else did, that's not the movie. That's not what this movie was. That's it's not. And so if that's what you're expecting, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. So that's what I didn't say that to those people, because I just didn't really know at the time how to phrase that. But that's essentially why I did that review on Friday evening, was because that's really what I wanted to get across, is like, this movie is good. It's enjoyable. They did a lot of things right. There was a lot of things they didn't do right, or they had issues with. But for the most part, in terms of expectations, they might need to be tamed a little bit, just because the talk about this movie was so much more than what we ended up getting. And that's okay. But that's why I did that. So go on. We'll get into that stuff as we get down this list.
Well, that's kind of what I told people. I was like, the best way I thought about it at the time to describe it was, you're gonna be disappointed or you're not. Yeah. Like you're gonna be. And Spider-Man No Way Home, I didn't really have to mute as much for some reason. I don't know why, but this one, I'll tell you, I was scrolling through when someone put a picture up and it was like a full thing of the Illuminati, and I just threw my phone.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't want to see it.
Yep. I had a friend that saw the same thing.
And I honestly did not see it. I just saw a blur and I was like, nope. And I threw my phone. So I had to go mute everything. The only review I let myself read was a picture that was put up because I wanted to know the horror stuff. I didn't care about anything else. I just want to know, like, okay, what can I expect from this horror vibe that I'm about to see? And then it said gruesome, goes full horror. I like this one. Olsen steals the show. Cumberbatch does his thing. So I was like, okay, I can handle those type of reviews. I was like, okay, I'm fine. But like you said, I saw other things I had to mute because people were putting that up. People were putting up pictures. People put up those things saying
social media is a cesspool when it comes to this stuff.
I saw the same thing of like not good movie or terrible letdown. And I was like, okay, I can't. And it got into my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But luckily, I'm a Cumberbatch fanboy, so when I went into it, I was like, okay. But then I was more worried about, I don't know, I went into it going, WandaVision, I went into it thinking everything, Logan. I went into it and I was like, WandaVision's a tee-off. Spider-Man No Way Home has to do something. Yeah. Loki has to be, like, and I was wrong on I had a prediction video out, and I was wrong on so many levels because Marvel can be a huge kick in the dick sometimes because they manipulate you with the trailer. This was one of the most manipulative trailers I think we've had. It has to be.
Well, I mean, what do you say? Why do you say that? What was it about the trailer that was manipulative?
So they have stuff in it that's obviously not in the movie, which they always do.
Well, that's always the thing. But it's not like they were showing us that these people were going to show up.
No. I was talking about, like, I was trying to figure out in this movie, like, is it because Doctor Strange opened up the stuff in Spider-Man No Way Home? Because in the trailer, Wong says you can't control everything. You've opened a doorway. And then it shows Wanda and Wong, like, teaming up in a trailer because they're whatever. So they make it look like one way or the other. This is all spoilers now. I told you we're going to go all over the place. That other Strange said things just got out of hand. The way they set it up was like the greatest threat to everything is you, which they got to, but it was said by different people. And like, so maybe not the most manipulative trailer, but the way I looked at it and I was like, okay, this should happen. This should happen. There's no way Wanda can be the villain the whole time. Like, I didn't even care about the characters. That was the least of my thing. I was just trying to figure out the whole story.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I was like, oh my God, like I allowed myself to believe certain things, which is fine. That's their job. But again, some of that could have been the original part of the movie with Dickerson as the director.
Yeah.
It could have been, but then they did reshoots. This was supposed to come out before Spider-Man. So like all this stuff had to be changed on the fly. They did reshoots 6 weeks before it came out. So it was like, okay, so they just changed a lot. And you can kind of tell at the beginning of the movie, you can tell from how it's filmed at the beginning until it gets there.
It's not the cleanest movie. And this is along the lines of what I said in my review. As you talked about, it's had two different directors. Scott Derrickson was attached to this movie for a while. And they had even started shooting this movie with him directing it. And then he left the project. Sam Raimi got brought in. That was a year ago. That was last May when that happened. They were very much in the middle of shooting this movie when that happens. So not only that, there was several COVID related delays and reshoots. The order of the MCU got shifted around. You mentioned it. This was supposed to come out before WandaVision. So there was just a lot of problems with this movie that was out of anyone's control. Like, you can't blame anybody. You can't blame Kevin Feige or Scott Derrickson or Sam Raimi or anybody. Like, it's nobody's fault. It's just the nature of what happened. And they made the most of it. They really did. I don't want to sit here and bash this movie because it's not bashable. I thought I had a great time with this movie, but you can very much tell there was a lot of problems with the production of this movie. I refer to it as not developmental hell, but a development from hell, because it had so many problems with it, just putting it together that were out of a lot of people's control. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it, but it's hard to sit here as somebody that sees all the, watches as many movies as I do, and, tries to be some sort of a, critic for fun. Like, it has problems. This movie has problems, and it's unfortunate because I was really excited for it. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I really did. But yeah, there was just a lot of issues, especially with the beginning and the overall story. I loved Elizabeth Olsen in this movie, but that storyline was sketchy at best. Where we ended WandaVision to where she got to by the start of this movie, that doesn't really add up to me. It just seemed like she went from 60 to 100 real quick. I don't know. It was just messy. It was just messy. As I said, I enjoyed it. I really did. It was just, the story was probably the biggest problem for me, honestly.
Because watching it the second time, because I think we said this, I think in Spider-Man No Way Home, there was a couple things we were just all kind of like, we have to accept it. Like, it's just a movie, we have to accept it.
Yeah.
When I watched it the second time, I thought the same thing. That just may be one of those things that we have to accept, because they said it like, Strange said, "Oh, that's the book of the damned," and she goes, "What do you know about it?" He goes, "I know it corrupts people." So I think that was supposed to be like, this is what's happened to her because she's read it. So maybe that's. And I didn't like how it was 2 hours and 6 minutes. Like, then it came out today that Sam Raimi was like, "Oh yeah, the original cut was like an extra 40 minutes long or 30 minutes long," and I'm like, now don't get me wrong, I kind of like that it was all gas, no brakes. It was just go, go, go. But that can also be a problem. Like you said, like if you start off that way, it's great, but it just continued. There was only like one or two spots where you were like, okay, nothing's going to happen.
It didn't slow down.
No, like the only time it slowed down is when they went to that first universe and they're walking through. Like that was the only time where you were like,
yeah,
it's going to happen.
That's true.
But yeah, I think that's one of those things we're gonna have to accept. And maybe that wasn't supposed to be that way. Maybe it was literally, I don't know.
We may never know. I mean, this is the world we're in right now with film and TV. It's just everything is. So I was talking with somebody else about, we're not going to talk about Moon Knight on this show, but part of the issue I think with Moon Knight is that, and it probably has something to do with this too, there's a large backlog of CGI work across all studios right now, getting stuff done because of the pandemic. And I think that I'm going to guess that Moon Knight had some issues with that. And I have to think that this movie had to have some issues with that too. Not that I don't think that the visuals of this movie was the problem, but there's stuff like that's still affecting a lot of industries, but this one in particular. I mean, especially when you have movies that are so heavily entrenched in the world of CGI, you're going to have problems.
They did say Sam Raimi, like they said we had less green screen on this movie than we were used to.
Yeah.
And that could have been why. That could have been why.
I believe that.
Because Feige really did you see that, like produced by Kevin Feige or whatever? I can't remember. Yeah. And they said you don't see that a lot.
You're seeing that on the shows now. I've noticed that it's a Kevin Feige production.
Yeah,
that's how the last few shows have been. But this is the first time I've seen that, I feel like, on a movie, which I think is strange. I don't know the story behind that. Maybe you've looked into that. But I have noticed that on the shows. And then I saw it for this. I think this was the first time I've seen that in the movies too.
I think that's what they said. I think comicbook.com said if they think the reason why is because he wants to make sure that this multiverse rules stay the same. Because I don't know if you remember, it's like after WandaVision showed up and Loki was coming out, he said they had to have a big meeting about let's make sure the multiverse rules are, we have to stick to certain things. I don't know why. Maybe that's why. Why
I don't know. I'm just looking it up now because I hadn't seen it before. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but whatever. Yeah.
But I mean, regardless of less CGI or less green screen, it still looked good. It still looked
no, that wasn't the
good.
problem. The visuals weren't the problem in this movie. Like I think they probably were in Moon Knight. I think that there were some issues with Moon Knight, visually speaking. But with this, no, that wasn't the issue. I
No.
don't think so.
Like at the very beginning, I thought it looked great.
Yeah, no, I thought this was shot really well. I mean, we can talk about some of that stuff. A lot of the horror stuff in the second half of this movie, the back third of this movie was really good. I mean, it was really nice.
I was going to say, like, you're not a horror person. I'm not a horror person. So I went into it. I was like, this will be horror, but it's going to be Marvel. They can't go full on Stephen King.
It's PG-13 horror. I mean, I don't know who's going to watch this that's going to judge this opinion on whether or not they take their kids. I don't know if I would take my kids to this, depending on how old my kids are. It's not gory. It's not bloody. But they get away with some stuff here that you don't really see in PG-13 movies. There's a couple murder scenes. I don't know what you call it. Death scenes, kill scenes.
I mean,
were intense, man. And some jump scares. I mean, it's legit. They touted that phrase for a while, their first horror movie. And I wasn't really sure what to think about it. And the first half isn't.
No.
But the second half of this movie, it's very Sam Raimi. I mean, this is the guy that did the Evil Dead. I mean, and that's what a lot of his movies are is horror movies. And you can feel that. And I enjoyed it. As you said, I'm not a horror movie guy either. But I love that they're willing to take chances on some of this stuff. You know, I like bringing in, experienced directors that have a particular niche to them and letting them play in the sandbox. They did it with Chloe Zhao. Now that movie didn't do very well, and it wasn't super, but I appreciate them willing to do that with her in Eternals. And the same thing with Sam Raimi. I think that was a Kevin Feige connection that Feige had worked with years ago on Spider-Man and wanted to bring him in. And I thought that he did a great job with this movie. The visuals and everything they did with the like the horror stuff in the last act was great. I thought that was a nice change of pace for what these movies are. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed it too, and I think that fits the Doctor Strange part of the MCU. Like they protect the reality, they protect this and that. And Benedict Cumberbatch, that's the only thing I listened to, which before the movie came out was Olsen talking and Cumberbatch talking, and they said it fits that vibe of what Sam Raimi was doing.
Right.
Was like, this totally fits what fits that character from like the comic book.
Right.
And I loved, and you could tell it was a Sam Raimi movie with the eyes, how many times the camera would go into their eyes.
Yep.
And then when Elizabeth Olsen looked at the camera, when she turned and looked at the camera, and I was like, oh yeah, like this is, the vibe is so much different than Spider-Man. Like, what a huge jump from Spider-Man in a movie theater to this one. I know for me, being disappointed, I'll just say it. WandaVision, we had so many theories, so many topics, and I vow to never really do that again. I let myself a little bit with Spider-Man, but I also knew in Spider-Man, like, you have to have Tobey Maguire in there. So at the time, it was just like, it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how long it's going to happen. I fell into the trap of this one just because of the possibilities that this was going to present itself with, and like how it would make sense to introduce certain things. I listened to podcasts on things and they convinced me, like, and I think that's why you're seeing, I mean, it made a lot of money. They came out and said it's made a lot of money this weekend.
Yeah.
But it's rated lower than what they thought. And do you think that's because we were all at home going, now you called me out on it and we had to take a step back. You can't have every cameo we ever want ever, because there's no way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But there are certain cameos, and we'll get into the cameos we had, because one of them pisses me off to no end because it finally happens. Do you think that's why it's getting rated low? Because we had these huge thoughts and theories like WandaVision because they moved the movie back. If it came out in March, it may have been different.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Yes, I do believe there's a large segment of the fan base that had theorized and was thinking this was probably going to be this big, larger scale crossover event that's going to bring in all these characters and introduce X-Men and all these things. And that obviously didn't happen. This is a far more contained movie than I had imagined it to be, and I know that you imagined it to be. I don't know that that's necessarily why it's getting lower reviews. I think that the lower reviews that's the stuff that I talked about. I just don't think it's as clean of a movie. I think that's really where this comes in. Where I think what you're referring to, though, will have something to do with the effects on the future of this movie is it had a pretty good opening weekend, but if you look at the trend, I saw somebody talking about this. The box office went down over the course of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this movie, as they say around the business, has the legs to do the box office numbers that they could have done over the course of time. Not that it's not going to do well. It's a Marvel movie. It's going to do tremendously well. But I don't know that there's going to be enough word of mouth to keep this movie going like the last one, like Spider-Man No Way Home had. That one just kind of kept going and going and going because people were talking about it. And it was the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield. And that's part of the reason why that movie had the legs that it did. This movie's not going to have that. It's just not. Yes, people are going to see it, but a lot of those people that were going to see this movie have already seen it. So I don't know that this one, that's where I think it will hurt it. I don't think that's the reason for the reviews that aren't doing as well. I think in terms of box office numbers, in terms of longevity box office numbers, I think that will hurt it in the ending. Not hurt it. I shouldn't say that. That will not have the same effect to it that a movie like No Way Home had. It just won't. It's just because it doesn't have those big moments that people are going to be talking about. It's not going to have that same kind of effect.
Yeah, I see what you're saying because it had the opportunity to.
Yeah, if this was the movie that we were all thinking it was going to be, we're going to introduce these characters and change the universe and all this stuff, then yeah, it would absolutely have the legs, and it would go the distance, and it would maybe even approach No Way Home numbers, but it didn't do that. It's just a very contained MCU story, and yeah, as I said, it's going to do well, but it's not going to have the same word of mouth effect that a No Way Home had. Just because it doesn't have the big surprise. Yes, there are some cameos, but they're not enough to make people, come out of the woodwork to see it. I don't think. I think that's what's going to hurt it.
And you had a good point the last time was like Spider-Man feeds into more kids. And
Spider-Man's a bigger brand.
Right.
And just in general, Spider-Man is Marvel.
Right.
I mean, like that is... There was a lot of reasons why that movie did as well as it did in the box office.
Yeah,
again, this is a Marvel movie. It's going to do well. It's already had the top 10 highest opening weekend. Like it's gonna put in good numbers, but it's not gonna be No Way Home numbers.
And it's one of those things where you almost don't want to be the movie that happens right after Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
like you really don't, because now. I think we talked about it. Like now it's almost like Marvel. Are they going to feel pressure to be like, oh my God, we have to knock it out of the ballpark every single time now?
Yeah.
Because you had Spider-Man No Way Home that was good. Now it's like this one, does it have to knock it out of the park? No. Is Thor Love and Thunder going to have that same feel of like it's got to knock it out of the park, which I think it's going to. But yeah, one of those things. And then Spider-Man No Way Home, tugged at all of our childhoods because we all grew up watching the original Spider-Man. So once word got around that Tobey Maguire might be in it, we are all going to go watch it.
Yeah, this movie is just not. It's not going to do that.
And it's
going to be a good movie. I'm just reading some of the stats. It's the 11th place all time after its first weekend, behind mostly Marvel movies. It's 2 times the opening of what 2000 or what the original Doctor Strange did. Yeah, I mean it's gonna do well. It's just It's not that. I know the conversation we had on this show several weeks back was, is this movie gonna be as big in any sense of the word? And no, like it's just not. It wasn't in the terms of the scale of the movie, and it's not going to be in terms of the box office. Like it was a very super contained Doctor Strange movie, for better or for worse. That's what it was. Granted, it was a Wanda movie, but it was a very contained Wanda and Doctor Strange movie.
Well, we might as well just talk about part of that. One of my predictions was Wanda, and you and I had talked about this back and forth, and I finally put my fist down on Wednesday before seeing the movie. I said, Wanda will be both. She will be not a friend anymore because of what happened in WandaVision. But she's also not going to be like the main villain, just because they teased that of and I think I told you this. I said, I think there's going to be 2 Wandas, whether it's 2 variants or whether there's a Scarlet Witch / Wanda, which there kind of was. Yeah. Wanda is in there somewhere, but the book took over. Did you expect Wanda to be the actual overall quote unquote villain? I did not. As the movie was going on, I was at some point it's going to change.
Well, I didn't expect this. I know I teased at you before this movie came out saying that this was going to be a Wanda movie more than it was a Doctor Strange movie. And I was partially kidding. I didn't really expect this to be WandaVision epilogue. That's what this movie was. It was a WandaVision epilogue. So first off, I didn't expect her to be as much a role in this movie. I knew she was going to be the number 2 billing character, but I just didn't think there would be that much. In terms of the villain thing, maybe I don't know. I don't really know what I thought they were going to do with the villain of this movie. I mean, there were all sorts of, you could have all sorts of theories that it could have been the Illuminati, and maybe there was a different villain altogether. I don't know. I probably would have put my money on Wanda though. Just her being the villain the whole time. And again, this goes back to one of the issues I had with it is just her story arc. I just thought it was just kind of strange. I don't know. It's just it was just kind of bizarre. So yes, she was the villain, and I guess that's probably what I would have predicted, but I don't really know. I was just more surprised that it was what it was when it comes to her and her character and her amount of screen time, and it really was a Wanda movie. I was mostly kidding with you when I was saying that, but this was a Wanda movie.
Well,
really more so than it was a Doctor Strange movie.
I know
you don't want to admit to that. I know you have an obsession with Benedict Cumberbatch, and you're afraid to admit to that. But this should have been called something different.
No, I have to talk it out.
Far more a Wanda movie than it was a Doctor Strange movie.
No, I agree. After walking away from it and processing it, I had to sit there and really come to grips with. Remember a long time ago when I said, I just don't understand why this movie is, when they said WandaVision is a tee off to this movie, and I personally didn't understand it. I said, the title of it, what I've read about it, Loki and Spider-Man No Way Home have to be what leads into this, and Wanda is the magic part that sets it up. No, it literally was the golf ball on the tee, and they hit it off. Literally, this is just picking up where WandaVision left off. Spider-Man No Way Home really had no effect on this at all.
I mean, a little bit. They at least referenced it. There was no reference of anything that happened with Loki.
No, and that pissed me off to no end. I was like, this makes no sense, because Feige, right before the movie came out, and if Feige says it, it's not a spoiler in my eyes. If he comes out and says it, it's not. He said, when they kill when Loki and Sylvie kill the Kang variant, that's what caused Doctor Strange's spell to go off. They said it happened at the same time. And that's what caused it. And then he said, in the Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange said, after he captured the lizard, Doctor Strange tells Peter Parker, now we've got people coming from other universes. And he goes, oh, the multiverse is real. And Doctor Strange goes, this shouldn't even be possible. Yeah. So he's referencing like that shouldn't happen. And so I'm like, okay. So that's why when I saw that, I said, Loki will be referenced or something in this movie. Yeah. And no. Like,
yeah. Again, I don't know what the issue is here. This could be something to do with who was writing this movie. Michael, I think it was Michael Waldron. He was the one that wrote the screenplay for this, the one that they ended up using. He was the main writer on WandaVision. So this really, truly was a WandaVision epilogue. I don't know why there wasn't any reference to Loki or what we're doing with that. I have to trust Kevin Feige. He's been doing this for 20 plus years with this universe, or 10 plus years, however long it's been, with this universe, 28 movies and however many TV shows. Like, they have a cohesive plan, but like there are some things in this movie in particular that I don't know that I don't get how they got from point A to point B. And that's one of them. I thought that was bizarre. They even referenced Hawkeye, and the Mohawk, which he had in the show. So for them to not even, there was no Loki tie-in, not at a post-credit, not at a mid-credit, not even a reference. I thought that was strange. Not that it's that important, but so we've been teasing multiverse for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a multiverse reference in Spider-Man Far From Home. Granted, we found out that was not real, I guess, but like they knew it existed.
Right.
Then we had multiverse stuff in Spider-Man No Way Home was about the multiverse. Loki was obviously had some sort of multiverse connection. And I feel like it dove a little bit into the multiverse. It had to, it was about the multiverse, but I still feel like we're teasing multiverse. I still feel like even after a whole movie about the multiverse, I still feel like we're being teased.
Right.
Am I crazy? Am I wrong?
No, because even in the original Doctor Strange, she says something about multiple universes. So way back in the original Doctor Strange, it was said. Then it really got said as we continue to move along. And because of the title of it, and like I said, we have the full right going into this movie saying this is going to be all over the multiverse. The title of it. Wanda set it up because she created one. Loki, because it literally was all about that. Spider-Man No Way Home. And then you would think that this movie is like, okay, we're going to put it all together. No, they must have a long game plan of eventually it's going to break open. And I have no idea, but you're not crazy. Because in this movie, I was expecting so many different worlds.
Yeah.
What we saw, 2.
I mean, they briefly went through several. But yeah, we didn't spend any time in any of them other than, 2 additional ones other than the main universe. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're still getting teased. I think this was just more about okay, WandaVision set up the magic, the chaos stuff, and a little bit of it because she created her own world.
Yeah.
Loki set up variants so that way we can really talk about that in Spider-Man No Way Home. So they're still piecing it together. But then, like you said, title this something else. Title it Wanda and I don't know. Title it. You're right. This is more about Wanda than Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange has to protect everything, but I don't know.
So I'm just coming up with this on the fly. And I may be speaking too soon on this. I might watch this movie again and feel differently. What I'm about to say is not necessarily speaking negative about this movie. But I really loved WandaVision. And this movie almost sours that for me. And it's not that I didn't enjoy this movie. Wanda's story, I was so enthralled with in WandaVision. And what they did with it here, I just feel like it. I don't know. I don't know. I need to watch it again. I've only watched the movie one time. I saw it opening night. I have not been back since. I will see it again here in the next week or two. But just kind of like thinking back on how much I enjoyed WandaVision and then seeing where they take her story in this, now that her story is essentially over. Like that's what this movie did. This movie rounded out her arc from WandaVision. And now that we have had our questions answered, I just kind of feel underwhelmed by it. Like I feel like there could have been more to this.
Well, because you're onto something, because watching it the first time, I said, wow, Wanda really is villainous. Like, this is bad. And then watching it the second time, I thought about that. Like, I just have to trust that we just kind of have to accept it. And that little line of, oh, she read this book, it corrupted her. Was there something said in WandaVision at the end when Agatha is talking about it? Like, were we really supposed to pay attention that hard to that? And maybe that is the case. You're right, though. Like, she really just went from housewife, didn't really want to hurt anybody, found out she took over a whole town and then fixed it. And then it just would have been nice maybe in this movie to have an extra 25 minutes and maybe they show something of like the Scarlet Witch takes over Wanda or something.
Yeah.
And that's still possible. They're teasing she has her own solo movie. So is she coming back? Are they going to?
Yeah, I guess she's signed on for a long contract, so she's not going anywhere. So it's not like her arc in total is over, but I just feel like the arc from that show is over, which is just kind of strange to me.
Could they revisit it with the Agatha show they want to do? Could something have happened?
Probably. She's not going anywhere. I'm excited about the Agatha show because I thought Catherine Hahn was fantastic in that.
Another one I thought would appear. They went back to that same, like, I was just like, come on. Like,
they didn't bring anybody in for this movie, Steve. Like, nobody. Other than the 5 cameos for the Illuminati. That was it. Like, there was nobody else in this movie until the post-credit, which we got a new character, not even anybody we've had in the past. So, they didn't. It was super contained. It was Strange and Wong and Wanda and Mordo and America Chavez, and then that was it. I mean, we got Rachel McAdams' character. Now it's a very contained movie. Like, it was not anything more than that, which is fine. I'm not sitting here saying that that's making the movie terrible. It's not. That's not the case. It's just not what I think people were expecting, or it was at least what I was expecting.
Now, Olsen knocked out of the park with her villain side. Like, she
was great.
It was brilliant. I didn't mind her being the villain afterwards. I just didn't think it was going to be that way. But like you said, I just wish it was more of a setup of, wow, she really went like full on like killer mode, real straight villainous, killing people at Kamatage and all that. I think that's what it's called. Like, that was brutal. And then that when she's going through the water taking people and she just crawls through that thing, I was like, oh my God, this is real. That was my first horror thing to me. That was like the first horror thing I saw.
With what?
When Strange is standing there and he goes, if you want the kid, you have to go through me. And he puts her in like that mirror dimension.
Yeah.
And she's going through the puddles, like taking people.
Run.
And yeah, she goes run. And then when she crawls out of that thing and is like, has to come back out. I was like, Sam Raimi, this is part of the reshoot because this is where it's coming on. Where was I going to go with this? And then I'm just going to say it now. We have said it since WandaVision. There is one man in this world that should play Mr.
Let's talk about
Richards.
Let's talk about it.
There is one man in this world that should be that. I was not shocked about.
Well, let's go through all the cameos first. End with him.
Okay, I was not shocked about. I'll say this: the Mordor character. I was kind of shocked it was a different universe. I really was.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into the cameos specifically, I do want to touch on this thing with the Illuminati though, because this is another issue that I had. I was expecting the Illuminati to be multiversal.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple characters from
Yes.
multiple universes.
Yes.
Like a Professor X from this universe and a Reed Richards from this universe and whoever from this universe. Different universes. It wasn't. This entire movie, for the most part, until that very last act, that whole second act, I guess, was contained in one universe.
Yes.
So, I don't know. That was underwhelming to me, too. Again, that's kind of where I came into this whole thing expecting more. And it wasn't what I thought it was.
No.
So that was just kind of strange to me. I just wasn't expecting that. So yeah, as you said, I didn't think he would be from a different universe. I figured it would be the same one.
Well, because
I don't know. Just this movie, it was just not what I thought it was going to be on a lot of different levels.
No, because of the comic book Illuminati, we already knew about that. And then the what if when they did Guardians of the Multiverse, it was kind of put that together. And I was the same way. Like, I wasn't shocked about Captain Carter. I was like,
no,
hey,
we knew she was going to be there. We knew Xavier was going to be there in the yellow whatever hover wheelchair thing. We knew that was happening. The character from Inhumans, I didn't know who that was. I had not seen that show. But that was there. Maria Rambeau, was that who it was? I like that. I thought that was not what anybody was expecting.
No, I was
everybody was thinking, is this Brie Larson Captain Marvel? Is this Tom Cruise Tony Stark? All these theories, and it ended up being Maria Rambeau, which I was fine with that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Who was the other guy with I cannot remember his name. The Whisper.
That's the guy from Inhumans.
Okay, yeah, I did.
It's a show that I don't know that anybody saw. It was on ABC. I didn't know who the guy was. I had no clue who the actor was or the character was. I thought that was a strange introduction. That was just their way of saying this show is canon, basically. And then yeah, we could talk about the whole you know who showing up in this movie as Reed Richards.
Airs beats
Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts because I have my own.
I am the one that started the clap in the movie theater with that. I was like, yes, because these people around me don't know. We're on a podcast talking about this since WandaVision. Like, I started the clap.
I clapped too.
I was like, and you know what I thought? I was like, I can't wait to text Logan about this. We were right. We finally got what we wanted. And he nailed it with the short little talks he had. I was like, he's the guy for this. And then he was on screen for like 6 minutes. Now that was a brutal scene. The whole scene with the Illuminati fighting Wanda, that was brutal. But my problem is, this is literally what I don't like. You can't bring a cameo in for 5 minutes and be like, done, see ya. Like,
well, that's kind of what a cameo is.
Well, it doesn't have to be long. I just want it longer. Like, it doesn't have to be Spider-Man. I just think there has to be a purpose in the cameo.
Okay. Here's where I'm at on this whole thing.
Was this like an audition for him for that character?
There's a lot of layers to this conversation. We're obviously talking about John Krasinski.
And John Krasinski, yes.
We never actually said his name.
We don't have to. People know. Watch The Office. You'll figure it out.
I've wanted him to be in this role. I have been shouting from the rooftops since pre-WandaVision that Reed Richards, it needs to be John Krasinski. I was very much on board with that at WandaVision time. We had talked about it on this show. I had said I wanted when whatever the character was that they were teasing, thought that's who it was going to be. Since then, I have kind of backed down from it. I have kind of accepted the fact that this person that they bring in might end up being a little younger than him. So I had kind of moved on from him playing that role. That was until about a week ago when the news broke that John Watts is no longer directing Fantastic Four. Because then that immediately started the chatter again. Does John Krasinski want to direct and act? which isn't something that they do in the MCU. It's never happened in the MCU. But he has shown he can do it. A Quiet Place was a huge success. So I don't know if that's what they're doing here. So I heard somebody say that one of my friends said that his thought was that because we saw him there, it was just a way to bring him in and shut up the fan base and we don't have to see him again. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. And the reason I say that is this. The other members of this Illuminati were all characters and actors that we have seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily in this universe, but the guy from Inhumans apparently is on a show that people have watched. Xavier is from a universe that movies people have seen. Both Peggy Carter and Maria Rambeau are characters that we've been introduced to before. Granted, they were in different roles. Mm-hmm. They weren't those people, those heroes, but we know those characters. So I can see the argument both ways. I can certainly see them saying this is just in this universe. This is the man that is Reed Richards. But like, I don't think that it's necessarily like the end all be all. I don't really see it that way at all. Now, is it going to happen where he's going to be that role and he's going to direct and all these things? I don't know. I have no clue. But I'm not. That is not an indication to me to shut the door on it at all. Like, I think it opened the door for me a little bit more than it was a couple weeks ago. That being said, though, I don't know how I feel about it. I thought he was fine. I thought he did great in his few lines. I don't know. Now that I finally got it, admittedly though, I did kind of black out. Like I saw him and like I don't even know what happened in the like 2 minutes following that. Like I have no clue. Like the whole theater could have caught on fire and I wouldn't know. Like I was blacked out. So I don't know what the future of this is. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm glad that we got it. But your whole thing about how long it was and that it should have been longer, I can understand that. But that goes back to my whole thing about how contained this movie was.
Right.
Like this was just people from a different universe. It had nothing to do with the universe that we lived in or that we've been seeing for the last 27 movies. It was just, they went to another place and killed off their most important people.
I think it was more about the impact of Illuminati. Like I wanted John Krasinski on screen, but I think it went back to like, oh, here's the Illuminati. They're not different people from universes, but they should still have an impact. Like they built this up and then boom.
Got nothing. We got nothing. I mean, it was a cool little sequence. It was a cool scene. It was cool to see him there. Cool to see those other characters, those other actors, but like meant nothing. It literally meant nothing. Wanda just walked through there and just ripped through all of them, and it was it. No more.
And then poor Captain Carter gets cut in half. Like I was like, this is getting like it was brutal.
It was very violent.
Like, and then how did your skin like when she's like, do you have? Is their mother alive?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, somebody will be there to raise them. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, it was ruthless, man. It was ruthless.
What mouth? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So that I think that was more about. I think it was just more about the whole group as a whole. Of like, you built this up in the trailer where he's like, the Illuminati will see you now, and I think that was more of.
I was just underwhelmed. And that's probably my own fault for theorizing and listening to people theorize and watching people talk about this stuff. Like that's on me, I guess, for expecting more than what we actually got. I just assumed that this was going to play more of a factor, as opposed to in there. Like I got so excited. Like as soon as I knew that's where we were going, like I was giddy. Like, I'm like, all right, who's it going to be? How's this going to, what's going to happen here? How's this going to affect things? And then I had the one really high when I saw him, and then 5 minutes later, it's all done. I'm like, oh.
And then we did get the cool scene of Xavier saying the same line he said in another movie, like when one person stumbles, you know. And then we had the cool scene of like he entered her mind, and then that kind of proved my thought at that moment where he saw Wanda and he was like, "She's taken over your mind." In my mind, Logan, I'm sitting there going, "Okay, now he's going to get her out, and Wanda will no longer be the villain, but something else will happen."
Yeah.
And that scene made me jump out of the seat where she just comes and snaps his neck. That made me jump out of the seat. I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, oh, he died again. Third time, Professor X dies. And there he is. Like, there we go. I jumped out of my seat when they were in the tunnel and the door shut and they were sitting there waiting. That made me jump. Like, they did a good job of making me, jump out of my seat. And then I was kind of underwhelmed with the Sinister Strange variant. I was expecting way more from that. The third eye freaked me out.
I mean, that scene was cool.
It was cool.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like, it was just.
I love the dialogue because you're finding out. I'm saying this earlier. I was going to say at the end. You're finding out more layers of this character of Doctor Strange. Like, he had a sister. He couldn't save her. And now I'm like, oh, now you see why he wanted to be a doctor. You see why he's really trying to save America Chavez. He's like, I got to save people. But it still doesn't make him happy. But he's like, I have to do it. I like the dialogue. I liked that whole fight scene. I was going to ask you about. People have bashed it a little bit because they thought it was, no pun intended, strange to have notes flying around and like
music notes. What was that? Like, I didn't understand that. Maybe that's a comic book reference that I'm not aware of.
It must have been, because
I have no clue what that was about. That was the most bizarre thing in this whole movie. I'd forgotten all about that until you said that. I had no idea what that was about.
I've only listened to like a podcast and a half of people's like spoiler on this. And one of them just said, well, throughout the whole movie, and even if you watch Doctor Strange, they do weird spells. Like at the very beginning when they're fighting the Cyclops thing.
Yeah.
Like, he has a monster come out and bite the car. He makes like these Hulk hands and like he does weird spells. He has the snake things come out. They just chalked it up as, oh, he hit the thing. He saw notes and he was like, oh, shoot, I can do this. And so I think it was just trying to show the difference between Wanda and Doctor Strange. Like, Wanda has raw power and is just chaos. Yeah. Strange actually has like thought behind it and, different things, and is smarter than she is and is doing this. And I don't know if it was because for the soundtrack, because it was a great like music behind it. But I really don't know. That's all I got from it. That's all they got from it. And I said, okay, cool. I loved it. I didn't see a problem with it. It was a little weird, but I was just like, oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of bizarre. I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it was strange. No pun intended. Again,
that's what I was like. It was really strange. No pun intended. And then the zombie thing wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Once I put it together during the movie where he was like you're going to dream walk or whatever. I was like, oh, this is where that zombie Strange comes in. Like, this is another disappointment. I was expecting like a world of zombies. Now, don't get me wrong. That whole sequence was awesome. I loved the dead he made into a cloak and flew. I loved attacking Wanda with it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was filmed really well in that scene, but I was disappointed. And then I think we've already said this. Wanda's not gone. I don't think she's dead.
No.
I think she just
portaled. She's coming back for several more movies, so she's not going anywhere. She'll be around for a while. Don't worry about that.
But again, that's another sequence. How easy it was when all she had to do was see her kids and they saw her as a monster. Like, I'm done. Like, I killed all these people, but I'm done. I didn't like that either. I was like, that was too easy. you did this whole thing, and then now it's like you see your kids, and you're like, I'm done. I'm not gonna be the villain no more.
Steve, you seem to be a little more soured on this movie than I was expecting.
No, don't get me wrong. I probably rate it higher than everybody else. People are telling me that, like, a text message I got, they rated like a 6.5 out of 10, and I got very frustrated. I was like, how can you rate it that low? But again, this was a person that had higher expectations than we did.
I gave it a 7.6.
That I can understand. Like, I was sitting here saying, I understand a 7 or 8 out of 10. That's perfectly fine. For reasons that I understand. It wasn't acting. I thought every actor knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
You know, Cumberbatch did his thing. He's been a great actor for years. He just did his thing. And to me personally, watching the character, listening to Cumberbatch talk about the character, he wants to be Strange for 10 more years, but it has to be where the guy evolves. He goes, as long as he evolves in every movie, I'm going to play him as long as I can, which I think is fantastic. Because he said that. He goes, I'll get bored with something. I have to evolve. And he did in this movie. He evolved a little bit. We found out more. We got a Thanos callback. And then I thought that was cool. You got to be on Titan. There was a Thanos. We had to kill that Doctor Strange. We found out that this Strange does need to control everything because you've seen it in every universe where he's doing the Darkhold spell. He's doing this. Like, there's just something. In our universe, it was the Time Stone where he messed around with that. And we're finding out about this character. I'm not sour on this, but I'm just agreeing. Like, there was just things I was like, I don't hate it. Like, the way Wanda ended, I don't hate that. But watching it, I'm like, oh, I was just expecting a bigger realization for her,
Yeah.
And I think it was because they cut it down to 2 hours and 6 minutes. I think that was another big problem. You need to make this time. I thought this movie needed to be 2.5 hours. I was like, 2.5 hours probably be the sweet spot.
Yeah, 2:06 is a little short. I agree. I hadn't really thought about the runtime. And most of the time, I would probably tell you the movies need to be shorter. The movie I saw right before it, Ambulance, came out a few weeks ago. That movie needed to be shorter than it was. This movie, as you said, you're probably right. It probably could have stood to be a little longer. I don't know what they cut out. I don't know why they cut it out, whatever they did. But yeah, I agree with you that this probably could have needed another 20 or so minutes.
I also think Spider-Man No Way Home made us jack this movie up. I think I said that, but I expected more of a call to that than what happened besides, so the guy I'm talking about said, wait, how did they know about Spider-Man? Didn't the spell do that? I said, no, the spell was they don't know who Peter Parker is. They just know there's a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that callback. Like, they don't know who Peter Parker is, which is fine. I was just expecting more of a, like, this shook it up. In the trailer, when Strange is running through and the world's eroding, they cut out Christine from that, so we didn't know that she was with him. He's standing by himself looking at Sinister Strange thing, like, she's not with him, and those type of things. But no, I'm not sour on it. I love this movie. That's why I saw it again. I might see it a third time. I enjoyed it, and like I'm one of the only people that enjoys Doctor Strange, the first one. I will die on that hill, and I will die on this hill. I love this movie.
I don't dislike the first Doctor Strange movie. It just, neither of these have really been two of my favorites.
They're just,
and it's not because of the character. Well, maybe it's because of the character. I don't know.
Which is fine. Like, this character is not for everybody. Spider-Man's for everybody. A lot of the other Marvel guys are for everybody.
Yeah.
Again, they said this. This is the only Doctor Strange character ever. Like, I don't think there's another movie out there with Doctor Strange. We've had different people do Hulk and Captain America stuff before Thor, like way back when. This is the first time, so they're trying to develop this. I also think this movie's different. Eternals was different, and it rubbed people the wrong way because it's not the same.
Yeah.
Spider-Man No Way Home was like a traditional Marvel movie throughout the years, so it all drew to us. This movie is different. It's strange for a reason. You know, the TV shows are different, but they're knocking it out because of how they're filmed, which they are knocking it out. Because I didn't dislike Moon Knight, but there were a couple clunky things with it.
Yeah.
I just think that's another thing that's off-putting to people is that this is different, but Marvel is going to take those risks and they're going to evolve from it. And, you know, the third Doctor Strange movie, if there is one, is going to be just, I guarantee Sam Raimi is the director. I guarantee they bring him back and make it even more horror and more like, and whatever they do with Deadpool, this could be a test run too for Deadpool because that has to be rated R. So there are things that they are trying and how they work.
They could open up a lot of doors with this. I mean, you mentioned it being different, and yes, this will turn some people off because of how different it is. That's not why I feel like I didn't love the movie. I don't mind them taking chances. I didn't mind the chances they took in Eternals. I didn't think Eternals was terrible. But I appreciated some of the things that they did differently about it. And I appreciated what they did differently in this movie too. They took some swings, some connected, some didn't. But at the end of the day, as I talked about at the top of the show, I think the issue was a lot of stuff that was out of their control. It was everything to do with the timing and the order and the reworking of the scripts and all that stuff. That's where the problem for this movie was.
Right.
Everything else about it was fine. That's where, for me personally, that's where the issues were. But I can understand why some people might be not as in love with it because of how different it is. I totally get that too.
Well, that's just some of the reviews I'm seeing that people are complaining about the wrong things.
Right.
It is different. Well, yes.
That's
fair. Okay, we've been talking for a while. We might as well talk about the ending. The freaking ending confuses me. Screaming, then he gets the third eye. Is that supposed to be the eye of Agamotto, whatever, like in the comic book?
Well, that is that Sinister Strange referenced that, or whoever the character was. That's why he had it, was because he had messed around with the Darkhold.
Mm-hmm.
And the souls or whatever, the souls of the damned, that's where that came from. So our main Strange messed around with the Darkhold and got the souls got to him. So that's how he got the third eye. There seems to be, so like there was the how the movie ended with him getting the eye and then like stopping in the middle of the street, like having some sort of attack. But then for the mid credit, when we get the new character, he seemed to be fine with it. Like in that amount of time, however much time had passed between those two events, he seemed to have controlled it or whatever. So I don't know enough about it, but that's my understanding of what that is that's because he messed around with the Darkhold and the whatever they called the walking thing. That's where that came from.
And then we get John Krasinski's wife.
No, that's not her.
No,
this was
that's
Charlize Theron. She does kind of look like Emily Blunt.
When I like saw it at first and they went back to Strange, I was like, wait a minute.
I have this thing where I see actors sometimes I have to think for a second, who is that? And then I realized it was Charlize. Yeah, playing Clea, I think that's the character's name. There's a lot of, you can read the backstory on that, who that is. But it sounds like we're gonna go back to Dormammu. I think will be back in the picture.
Yeah, that's in the comic book. That's supposed to be Doctor Strange's wife.
Yeah,
and it's Dormammu's niece.
Yep.
So yeah, and again, Marvel's done this before. That credit scene could be in the middle of another movie, like somewhere in the movie that could happen.
Yeah,
because apparently he caused an incursion where two universes have collided, which makes no sense because, again, this could be a fake out because I thought No Way Home was going to do something with this, with the multiverse. So this could be a total fake out, and I'm not even going to think about it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that post-credit scene. I have, what's the setting up? No clue.
No,
not a clue.
No clue. But yeah, we're gonna. No, I don't really have much theories on that. I like Charlize Theron. So, I mean, if she's heavily involved in the MCU, that's cool. They just keep bringing in A-list talent, which why not? People want money. Money's cool. It was fun to see her, but yeah, I don't have any idea what the future of this is. I do think it's setting up Secret Wars. I think that's the direction that everything is trending, which we are going to get at some point. I think at some point. I'm not sure when, but I think that's a lot of what we're teasing towards. That's probably going to be the next big multiple people.
Is that a TV show or a movie?
I think it's going to be a TV show.
Okay,
but I'm not positive. There seems to be some confusion about that, but I believe Secret Invasion, I guess it's what they're calling it. That's the TV show, but I think Secret Invasion is going to be the TV show. But the Secret Wars is something different that I think I've heard people talk about that. I don't know. Again, we've said it multiple times. I'm not a comic book guy. I'm just here for the movies. So I'm just here theorizing and listening to what other people say. But either way, these characters will be back. At the end, it said Doctor Strange will return. So
yeah, he'll be back. And then whether he's going to have a villainous side to him, because whatever that eye is that did, like they've already talked about. I mean, again, it's theorizing. Like, is he going to have a different tone to him because of messing around with that Darkhold, which is very, very possible. That could be part of Benedict Cumberbatch teasing that this character has to evolve and change, and that could be why. But then Feige said Doctor Strange is a vocal point of the MCU now. Like, he's like the top guy because of the multiverse, which is another reason why this movie didn't hit that quote with me, because I'm like, oh, I expected different things with the multiverse, and we might get it. You never know. They could change whatever.
And we didn't talk about this. Of all the people that I expected to show up in this movie at some point, I figured we'd see Kang.
Mm-hmm.
Like, more so than anybody else. Like, I figured he would show up at some point. So I was kind of surprised by that, because that's, again, where we're trending. I don't know. This movie just did not do the things that I thought it was going to do. That's not a discredit to the movie. The movie was fine, but it just did not set things up like I was expecting. I had to just stop expecting every single movie to be like huge instrumental piece of the future of the MCU, because they're not. They're just not. Like, we got Infinity War and Endgame, and No Way Home was, yes, is instrumental, but it was also more just about who they brought in, the cameos. Not every movie and not every TV show is going to set up the future of the MCU, and like, I just have to get that into my head. That'll help me down the road.
We have to accept the fact that they're not starting over, but we have to go back to the times of like, here's these movies coming out, and then we'll get a big one, and these movies come out. And I think that's what this Doctor Strange movie is. We all thought this was going to be one of those big ones, but this is just setting up, is it going to be a Doctor Strange 3? Is he just going to appear somewhere else? Who knows?
Who knows?
All these movies are just going to be pieced together again to figure something out. Now, they still are dying on the hill of no more Avengers movies, which is fine. So at some point, we'll have big time.
I mean, it probably won't be called the Avengers. I think you'll see Young Avengers. I think, or you could see Dark Avengers. I think there'll be other team up movies. They just may not be the days of the Avengers as we know it are probably gone, because there's just so many of them at this point. Like, it's one thing if they could easily do like an Avengers style movie, like the very first Avengers.
Right.
That's one thing. Like, I could see them doing something like that, like 5 or 6, 7 heroes in one movie. An Infinity War Endgame thing. Like, that's not happening again for a very long time.
No.
If at all. So, yeah, I think we're going to see more. Kevin Feige and people, whoever was with him on their little retreat planning the next 10 years of the MCU. So, Yeah, I mean, we already know we have 2 movies coming out this weekend, plus 2 more this year, plus 2 more shows, and we know what the next however many movies are going to be, and we know what's coming. Doctor Strange will show up. Who knows if it'll be his own? I'm sure he'll get his own movie at some point down the road. But who knows?
And then they're going to start filming Loki season 2 here soon. I think they were kind of waiting on this Doctor Strange movie for the storylines. I'm sure that changed it a little bit. But yeah, that's a good point. I expected Kang to be there. We won't see him until Loki season 2 or Ant-Man 3, whichever comes first.
Yep.
Like we won't see that. I doubt we see anything like that with Thor. We don't even have to talk about that. I doubt anything's going to be involved with that.
Probably not.
That's going to be its own little thing. The last credit scene I did not have to sit there and wait for. It was funny, like punching himself.
Yeah, that's a callback. That's that guy does a lot of stuff with Sam Raimi. That's who that actor is.
Yeah, I didn't need to wait for that.
You want to go ahead and rank your Phase 4 movies?
Oh gosh,
you only have 5: Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness. So, before I even say that, I didn't even think about the fact that it was Multiverse of Madness MOM that came out Mother's Day weekend. #MOM.
Oh. I didn't even think about that.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So yeah, let's hear it. How do you rank your Phase 4? Those 5 movies.
I would say Black Widow's 5. Probably Eternals 4. Shang-Chi 3. Doctor Strange 2. No Way Home 1. Is probably mine.
I would probably switch Shang-Chi and Multiverse of Madness 2 and 3, but otherwise, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. That's how I would do it.
Because Shang-Chi was a fun movie too, so that doesn't bother me.
I really enjoy Shang-Chi. My issue with it, but this is a Marvel problem. Just that last act was it was a great movie until then it just became a big CGI mess, and that kind of took me out of it. But otherwise, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I would put Black Widow 5, Eternals 4, Multiverse of Madness 3, Shang-Chi 2, and Spider-Man No Way Home 1 would be how I would rank those. So
yep, and
we're right there.
Yeah, people are expecting me to put Doctor Strange above No Way Home, and I said,
"Don't do that, Steve."
No, I'm not going to do that. People have to expect higher of me. I'm not going to do that. I said it had the opportunity. Now going into it, I said
I'm not going to do it. I'm just thinking about it. I'm not going to do it.
I'm just thinking about it. I'm just teasing it. I'm not going to do it. Which I just got it on Blu-ray, so now I have it forever.
Yep, I just got it too. It's somewhere in here. I was going to show it to you, but it's behind me now.
Yeah, it's on the living room. So when I have a moment, it's going to be popped in. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
I have it forever.
Great movie.
No. You don't have to have an intervention with me, Logan. I understand the problems with this movie. I get it.
The intervention, I think, was going to be more along the lines of we have to collectively, but more so you than me, we have to stop just getting so deep into the theorizing.
Oh, yes.
And just thinking that everything's going to happen. Because I remember you trying to convince me that this was going to be a huge movie, and it wasn't. It wasn't. Regardless of how good the movie is, it was not that at all. So
I learned my lesson from WandaVision. I thought I even told myself, I don't think I theorized that much on another thing again.
Yeah. It's not just you. A lot of people were talking about that.
Well, because everything it was just set up so perfectly. It wasn't WandaVision stuff was quote unquote far-fetched. The stuff we talked about that was being said with Doctor Strange at first wasn't that far-fetched.
Okay.
It was very possible. Now, the closer we got to Doctor Strange is when it became like, we got to have Deadpool, X-Men, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. It became this huge thing. I was like, well, hold on. I'd be perfectly fine with an X-Men or two. I'd be perfectly fine with Deadpool. But that's about it.
We got mostly none of that.
And we got John Krasinski dying in 6 minutes.
I don't know that we've seen the last of him. Just throw that out there now. That could be a one and done, and I wouldn't be totally surprised. But I don't know. I wonder if we'll hear more information about Fantastic Four here soon. I would guess they were waiting till that movie came out because they didn't want to say too much about that. I would think we'll probably start hearing more about this movie, Fantastic Four, here soon, because that is coming up at some point. Right. I was going to go over this real quick. First, we have Thor, Love and Thunder, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever coming up this year. By the end of the year, what do you think will be your top of those three? Do you think it'll still be Doctor Strange? Can you put your fanboyness to the side for a second? Do you think it'll still be number one, or do you think one of the other two will top it?
I don't think anything's going to top No Way Home.
No, I'm not asking about No Way Home. I'm talking about the movies this year.
Oh, this year?
Just the three.
I think Thor, Love and Thunder will sneak its way into 3. That just looks like a fun. You're right. When you said that text about like you're more excited for that one.
Yeah.
It looks like a fun movie.
Yeah.
From that short little trailer. I think that's the one that'll sneak number 3. I'm very worried about Black Panther without him.
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, Chadwick. I don't. They're going to be able to figure a way out to make it a good movie. I trust them. I am very worried about that storyline and what they're going to do. I just think Thor: Love and Thunder will be better than the other ones.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little concerned about Black Panther. Now, looking a little further into the future, here's something that we need to talk about real quick. I bet we need to be enough here soon because I need to go to bed. Next year, there are 3 movies on the calendar. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in February. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in May, which they just completed shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And The Marvels in July of 2023. That's 3 movies within the first 7 months of the year. And there's nothing on the schedule after that. Fantastic Four is the only one, and Blade are the only 2 they've technically announced. But like, they have to have a release at the end of the year, right?
You would think so, because didn't they already tease like another Captain America movie as well? It was talked about after Falcon.
Well, they've teased it. They haven't announced that.
Oh yeah. Oh, if you're talking about announcing, yeah, Blade and
Fantastic Four are the only things that they have actually legitimately like talked about. I want to pull something up here real quick. This is going to be bad content, but I need to find something. Bear with me here, because you can find a schedule of all Disney's releases, what they have coming up, and I want to see if I can find it. Give me 1 minute here.
No, that's a brilliant point.
Because I'm curious, because I'm just looking at the Wikipedia.
Is the Marvels the new Captain Marvel one? Is that what that is?
Yes, that is the July one.
And they flipped the release dates on those with what's after Ant-Man?
Guardians.
They flipped that, I think. Or Marvels or something. They flipped a release date.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know. I'm going to try really hard to find this, but I may not be able to do it. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd like to see that again, because they don't have anything announced to come out later than July, and I just have to think that something is coming, but I don't know what it would be.
Because I doubt they're going to make it all just TV shows after that. Like, you would think a movie has to come out in November, December.
November, December. Unless they're just reserving those for... I know there will be... Is there going to be an Avatar movie that year? I know there's an Avatar movie this year. Okay, here we go. 2023. There is an untitled Marvel movie that's supposed to come out in November.
Okay.
We don't know what it is. It has to be Fantastic Four, right? But they don't have a director.
They don't have a director. They haven't even done anything. They may have the script, but they haven't done anything.
I'm really interested to see what that's going to be.
And I don't know if they'll let John Krasinski produce because The Rock tried that. He talked to Feige and tried to say like, "Hey, me and my."
He wanted to produce. Directing and producing are two different
Okay.
things.
Maybe. I
don't know. I don't know. Obviously, they know what they're doing. They just haven't announced it. But there is 2023. Yes, there's the 3 that we know of, and then there's a scheduled one for November, but we don't know what it's going to be.
It has
to be Fantastic Four. It could be Blade. I guess it could be Deadpool. I don't think they've even worked on that yet.
They haven't even talked about that at all ever since they said they bought Deadpool and that it's going like something will happen. I don't think anything has ever been talked about with Deadpool at all.
I don't know. I'm genuinely curious what that's going to be. Fantastic Four, it's got to be what it's going to be, but I don't know. Like, that's a quick turnaround.
Unless they know something we don't. Like, they already have someone already. I don't know. Unless they know.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they just haven't announced stuff because they wanted this to come out because they wanted us. They didn't want to say anything ahead of the big reveal in Multiverse of Madness. So that's probably. I mean, that's got to be it. But still, like, they haven't even announced that yet. And that's next November. So
because you're right. I keep forgetting about Blade. I keep forgetting that
Blade's coming too at some point. But all right, let's wrap this up. I got to go to bed. It's after 11 for me. Got a bedtime.
Hey, I'm usually in bed at 10 or 8:45. That's how old I am.
It's way past your bedtime.
Any final thoughts?
No, I enjoyed it. I really did. I know I've been a little critical, but I did have a good time with the movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. There really hasn't been many, if any, Marvel movies in the last 7 years that I haven't loved, or that I haven't really enjoyed, at least. No, I had a good time with it. I really did. And I'm excited to see it again. It's okay that it's not the best thing they've done. I got my hopes up a little bit. I think I was expecting a little more than I got, but that's okay. It was just a far more contained story than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take.
I agree. And I will forever be a Cumberbatch fanboy.
As you should.
And I guess it was technically a Wanda movie, and I lose sleep over it. I lose a lot of sleep over it, but
it was.
It should have been called Wanda. Should have been called Wanda. I'm going to kill everybody. Is what it should have been called.
Wanda just wants your kids.
Oh, real quick, last thing. I'm very sorry. When she was chasing them through the building and the tunnel, did you get Terminator vibes from that?
A little bit, yeah.
With the red eyes,
yep.
And from Terminator 1 where he's chasing them through all the machinery.
Yep.
Okay, glad I'm not the only one. I'm sitting there watching. That was the very first time too. I'm like,
yep, I'm with you there.
Like the Terminator.
Yep. A little bit.
Well, Logan, thank you for coming back.
Thank you, Steve.
I don't even know if we have anything else to talk about after Doctor Strange. What else?
Well, we didn't even really talk about Moon Knight. It was fine. I had no major issues, but it was fine. Thor, I guess. Thor in July.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to do a show for Jurassic World. That's in June.
I've never even watched all those.
Steve, you're missing out, man.
I love Chris Pratt, but I did not watch those.
Thor, I guess. July. 2 Chris Pratt movies. I didn't even think about that. He's not really the star of the Thor movie, though. He's probably not going to be there for very long.
What's this next TV show coming out for Marvel? I just saw it.
She-Hulk?
No, Miss Marvel?
Yes, Miss Marvel.
It's coming out in a month.
Yep. Obi-Wan comes out.
Oh my God,
yes.
We may have to skip. I may have to pencil you in again.
I'm down.
I'm done with baseball in a week and a half. I'll pencil you in.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, Logan, thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Steve.
Been another episode of Geek Corner. Go check out Logan's podcast. It's been on the ticker because I'm fancy like that, down the ticker.
I hadn't even noticed the ticker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have questions. We have thoughts, questions, and thoughts.
I love it.
Logan's podcast, No One Asked Us Pod, on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Go check it out. If you haven't seen the movie, check out Logan's spoiler-free episode first.
If you haven't seen the movie, you probably aren't listening to this point.
No. But if you are, just because you're one of those people, it's okay. It's okay. I welcome everybody. All right, this has been another episode of Geek Corner. We'll see you next time.